We were traveling with our son-in-law and our daughter to my husband's father's
My dad's funeral.
And we were going on a back road to Moments, and there were some kids that were not driving safely, and one decided he was going to pass when we were coming head-on at him, and we ended up a Jeep that was being passed lost control when it got rear-ended by the other kid who was driving recklessly. It rear-ended them and sent them flying into us.
And the Jeep is what put us in the ditch, but our son-in-law was driving, and we saw the accident kind of brewing. You could tell that the kids were racing. And it said something to Trey about, hey, and he says, I see it. You know, so we started watching it, and it just got to the point where I says, Trey, you better take the ditch.
They could tell what happened as soon as I heard them talking, and I got a glimpse of the Jeep. I closed my eyes and started praying, and I never saw anything since that. And because even on the transport, the guy said, are you okay? And I said, well, yeah, I just have my eyes closed and I'm praying. That's what I did the whole time, because that was the only peace I could find. I had never hurt so badly in my life. I was sure that everything interior-wise was correct, but it wasn't. For me, it was a lot of bruises, and my C2 was cracked, had a triple fracture in it.
Trey came out of there with a wrist and some minor scrapes and injuries. Katie cracked her sternum in 3 places that we didn't realize until you get there. She's in such a panic. She just jumps right out of the car. For myself, I knew I had a stiff sore. My neck hurt and my hip hurt, but I didn't think anything more about it until after the fact. And with her and the 3 fractures up there was nothing else to worry about except that. Every one of the deputy sheriffs and the rescue squad that we were able to talk to said, you guys are lucky. We got through that, 3.5 months in the collar, got through a rehab, and during that time I had talked to Dr. Tonellis because my neck had started bothering me more. And over that 3.5 month period of time, it got progressively worse, and to the point where when we finally, we had been seeing him, and there was in his office one day, and he asked me to stand up and do something, and he says, forget about it, you're scheduled for surgery. I retired as the head athletic trainer at Eureka College, and one of the guys I know there, alumni, and Dan Herod, he's an attorney in Eureka, and I just asked him, told him what I was thinking about doing or going to do after the accident, and, talked to him about it, and he said, contact Jim. Just my first impression meeting him, I was just, okay, this is going to work. Can't give you specifics other than my first impression was, yeah, this is going to work. We had to go through hoops in order to just get them even to consider what we would consider a fair offer. And luckily through that whole time, you got Jim giving you the advice on the stuff, and he just guided us through the whole process. I mean, we never worried about it. Not once. Never worried about it, never questioned it, nothing.
He's a professional, but he's very down to earth. He's just like, he's a good guy.
Integrity. Mm-hmm. That's key for me.
Persistent, resilient.
He
perseveres.
And for me, integrity kind of encompasses everything. Because it's your character, it's your personality, it's everything. And that's the one thing that I felt the whole time, that, yeah, you can trust him.
That's key.
You can trust him.